The following content is sponsored and does not necessarily reflect the views of WATD Radio. Now, Paul Ponders on 95.9 WATD. Be a part of the show. Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's your host, Paul Solano.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. Happy baseball season. We had the opening of the Red Sox Fenway Park season yesterday, and we'll be talking about that with my guest, my executive consultant in studio, Mr. Arthur Boyle. Welcome, Arthur. How are you?
I was waiting for the round of applause that usually goes with that, but I'm doing well, thanks. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for being in studio today. And we'll be talking about the Red Sox and the season and all that good stuff. Oh, there we go.
There we are.
Absolutely. It's close to a standing O. Thank you. Welcome, Arthur. The crowd is roaring.
They're all out front on Enterprise Drive.
There we go.
They're in the parking lot. They're not blocking the road. No. Okay. Come on now.
I just saw them doing the wave out there. Well, my name is Paul Solano of PS&L Marketing Group, and as you probably already know, I also wear another hat as General Manager of Pearl Street Station Restaurant in Malden. Pearl Street Station was recently featured on America's Best Restaurants, an independent marketing firm from Kentucky. And one huge reason for this huge honor is because of Chef Felipe Fitzpatrick and his culinary team back in Malden. Chef Felipe is a loyal listener through the Odyssey app. So hello to Chef Felipe. How are you today? We have lots of events going on. We have a big party pan delivery to the Coast Guard station later on today. So that's going to work out really well. But Chef Felipe, I'll be back in Malden shortly, but we'll catch up with you later. And just as a side note, that late breaking news that we had last week about the George Foreman Grill, the tribute to George Foreman, no one bought into that April Fool's joke. It really was an April Fool's joke. We did have a couple of people who came in and wanted to see the fights of George Foreman's great fights of yesteryear, but it wasn't happening. April Fools. Arthur, what do you think about April Fool's jokes? Did anyone play any on you this year?
No, nobody played any on me. I think that's outlived its, the sense of humor that you have to put one together. It's not worth the trouble.
Well, I will say that my staff, a few members of my staff this past Tuesday on April Fools, they know that I love coffee, and we have New England coffee in Malden, and we buy New England coffee, and I drink a lot of coffee around the office, around the
I knew
restaurant.
You had to have some kind of secret, because there's no way that you do the work that you do all in a day and then get back up fresh in the morning. There had to be something.
Thank you. It's coffee and Dr. Stephen A. Gundry, a lot of his stuff, all those great things that I take. But my staff, a few members of my staff, went into the office and they taped probably a whole case of coffee bags to my chair around my coat, and they put it on the computer. And when I walked into the office, I was facing the daily grind, and it was pretty funny. It was a nice April Fool's joke, so they all got a kick out of that. So shout out to my great staff back at Pearl Street Station Restaurant.
And the smile Paul has on his face means he's going to get even.
Oh, I will. No, it was all good. It was April Fool's Day, right?
Yeah. Well, I just figured it's almost every day is April Fool's Day at Washington, D.C. It's it's crazy.
Yeah.
When you come home and the first thing you say to your wife is, "Did the president do anything bizarre today?"
Used to be, "Have you hugged your lawyer today?"
Yeah.
Now, "Did the president do anything bizarre?" I don't know.
The Red Sox look good. That was a surprise to me. The kid they're going to be talking about all year is the second baseman, Christian Campbell. The kid can play.
Yes, he can. And he just signed that big contract, so hopefully he's going to earn every penny of it.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't know how they figured these $160 million, $170 million, whether they buy an annuity and service it that way or what. I don't know how I'm sure there's not a guy with $160 million in cash standing in the parking lot waiting to give it to a second baseman.
Probably not, but That is interesting on how they do structure that. The key employee policies, some insurance. I'm sure there are a lot of surplus lines writers out there like a Lloyd's of London that's definitely underwriting a lot of those contracts.
Yeah, I'd like to have somebody on someday if we could do that and get an agent. There's plenty of them around in the Boston area, in fact.
Sure.
Yeah, and say, give us a lesson in this, because you've got guys that are coming over. They play for 2 years or 3 years, and the next thing you know, they're making $180 million. It's just
Absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that. And of course, we have to give out a shout out to Tim behind the glass and intern Paul. Hello there.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon.
How are we doing today?
We're doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Tim, every time the weather not the weather, but the traffic report comes up, I keep thinking of the signals that people are giving. You're getting off at exit 56 that used to be exit 3 or whatever. And
I know. The old exit 6, it's now exit 3000.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. And what our own Larry pointed out several months ago was that they changed the signs to say, formerly exit such and
such.
And he said exit 14 was exit 14 in the old days too. And we spent the taxpayers' money on marking off a exit that was already marked off.
Oh boy,
it was already done. Well, how about the hunter who was driving down the road, saw the sign beer left, so he turned around and went home?
Oh no.
It's okay to do a rim shot on that.
Oh, I know.
Okay. There you go. And even further back is Tom Gorman. Tom, great job delivering the news. It's great listening to you on the way down and all. And intern Paul, I hear your experience is going well here at the station.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. You're over at Massasoit College, right?
Yep, this semester's going beautifully. Got to love my professors there, taking care of me, making sure I learn everything I need to.
Absolutely. Well, you'll be following in the footsteps of our 24-year engineer behind the glass, Tim McKenney.
I hope to make him proud.
Absolutely.
You will. He's done very well this morning. I'm sure next week will be just fine.
That's fabulous.
And if it's not, you're not going to be here anyway, so you just wash your hands of it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, good for you. You deserve it.
Thank you.
Exactly. Now, at this point of the Paul Ponders Show, we have the Pod Pro Entertainment Techie Toolbox segment with Techie Chalonzo Amos and Shelley Wolf.
Does that all fit on the door?
Yes, it does. Yes, absolutely. It's this very wide plate. Absolutely. And we have Shelley Wolf, the global media firm owner of Toolbox Entertainment and a past Paul Ponders podcast guest on the line. Shelley, are you there?
I am here. How are you all doing today?
Doing well, thank you. And you heard Arthur's in studio with us.
Yes, it's great to hear from you, Arthur.
Well, it's nice to hear from you.
I heard the crowd cheering out there. So
yeah, we tried to silence them, but they couldn't. They couldn't give up on. We're delighted to have their support.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All the listeners are key to what we do.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Now, are you in Philadelphia today, Shelley?
I am in Philadelphia today. It's quite gloomy, but I am here in Philadelphia.
The city of brotherly love.
Yes.
Indeed. So what do you have for techie tips today?
Well, today I thought we would take us down the road of are we emergency ready, turning our phones into a digital go bag. So many times emergencies can happen at any point, whether it's a weather event, medical issue, or we just get turned around in unfamiliar places. And the good news is you probably already carry a very powerful emergency tool with you every day, which is your smartphone. So today we thought we would talk about turning that phone into what I'm going to call our digital go bag and get ready for moments that matter. And so whether you've served in the military, know someone who just understands the importance of readiness, however, everyday civilian life, also it's important to think about what our tactical gear is to make sure that we are ready and have the essentials at our hands. So what that looks like is because life is unpredictable, we have these crazy winter storms. Right now, we have no idea what this weather is.
All right.
It may lead to power outages or heat outages, fires, health scares, any of that sort of thing. So we want to make sure our digital tools are aligned just to give us a peace of mind. So we're going to start with thinking about what features on our phones could save us time or possibly even our lives. So starting with our emergency contacts, medical IDs. Most phones already have a built-in emergency ID feature. I know on iPhones it's called the medical ID or in the health app. And on our Android phones, you can usually go under the safety and emergency settings, add your allergies, you want to add your different medications, emergency contacts. And this is all accessible even if your screen is locked and there's an emergency, which is really fantastic. Your phone is a flashlight and SOS feature. So, don't underestimate the power of that flashlight, especially in blackouts or emergencies. I have a friend up in Vermont last week who just got iced in immensely, and he had to sit in his car and charge his phone in his car, right? So always make sure you have a charger in your car so you can also start your car if you need to, just to use that for some light and to recharge your phone. iPhones and Androids also let you set up a quick SOS. So by pressing your power button several times, there's a code you can set up. It will call emergency services. Again, really important. You might be out skiing or snowboarding and might need to get a hold of somebody. Weather and emergency alerts. Enable wireless emergency alerts on your phone settings. Apps like the Weather Channel, the ACCU or AccuWeather as they call it, or the NOAA Weather Radar also keep you ahead of the storms and local events. Again, we just don't know this weather. It seems to be very unpredictable these days. Downloading offline maps, very important. You can use Google Maps or Maps.me so that you can navigate without a signal. Perfect for road trips. It's also great for being in rural areas. And definitely if you are a person who takes public transportation, it's always good just to have those maps on your phone so you know how to navigate around. Best also for emergency apps is to download a FEMA app. It gives you real-time alerts, shelter information, disaster resources, and recovery tips that are customized to your location. I'm also a big proponent of the American Red Cross app. It includes first aid instructions, emergency alerts, disaster preparedness guides. And again, it will open even if it's always open. So even if you're not using it. There's also an app called Life 360, the family safety app that lets you share real-time information and location information. Again, very key to being able to communicate with your family, check in safely, send alerts to someone in your circle, especially if there's a crash. I believe now Apple actually has a thing on your phone where it actually will call the police right away. I know a friend that was recently in an accident who it called 911 right away and let them know that their car had crashed. So again, think about those offline GPS apps. Try Maps.me or Here We Go for offline navigation. Ideal for areas without cell service. Again, download maps of places you're going in advance, especially if you're going overseas. Find My app or what was formerly known as Find My iPhone. If you've misplaced your iPhone or any of your Apple devices, this allows you to find it and protect your data, but it also allows you to send signals and safety information to your colleagues to let them know you're okay and where you can be found. And then on the Android, it's Find My Device. Again, this can be used through Google Maps and setting location duration. Digital backups are really, really important. Storing critical documents. Scan in and save copies of your medical IDs, your insurance IDs, medical directives you might have, or emergency plans. Store them in a secure clouded storage drive like Google Drive, iCloud, or even a Dropbox, and mark them as key items offline in case you also need those, catch them during service. But one thing we've talked about is online safety, so making sure you are protecting those with really solid passcodes or the two-factor authentication, biometric logins. Do not, again, put the word password in anything. That's very key to this. Again, you can use something like LastPass as a key to your sensitive information for protecting yourself. And again, this is just your quick-to-go bag. Emergency contact and medical information filled out. Your phone's a flashlight in case of emergency. Offline maps, FEMA, Red Cross, Life 360 app. and important documents are scanned. So again, before we take out this week, take 15 minutes to prep your phone and use it as your digital go bag. It's really one of the simplest things you can do to protect yourselves and your loved ones without buying a single gadget. So think of this as a mission that you have today. And if you're helping a parent, a spouse, a friend, or your kids, make it an activity. It's a great way to bond. It's a great way to really make a difference and make sure you're prepared in for the unknown. So I thank everyone for joining us today. And stay safe, smart, and stay ready.
That's fabulous. And how do our listeners contact you, Shelley?
Yeah, so for those who want to contact us, you can reach us at info@podproentertainment.com.
That's fabulous. And also, just as a side note, along with the digital preparedness, you have to remember to stock up on the green beans and the loaves of bread and toilet paper, right?
Always.
Indeed.
I can imagine after a couple of days the bread loses its luster.
It probably does. There's always water, too, to wash it down, I suppose, right? Well, Shelley...
Well, canned goods are good, though.
Why not? Green beans or wax beans, you know?
Oh, no, definitely no wax beans.
Okay, there you go. I love it. Well, Shelley, thanks again, and thank you for sending me previous week's techie tips, and I'll be posting those on the PS&L Marketing Group blog in the very near future, so we'll be able to let our listeners see what these helpful tips are. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to be on Paul Ponders on WATD.
Absolutely. You've been great. I always appreciate it. I hope you and Arthur have a great show today.
Absolutely. Hashtag indeed.
Hashtag imagine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye now. Well, as Arthur always says, it's not time to make the donuts. It's time to pay some bills.
It's always time to make the donuts.
Okay, we'll make the donuts. How about if we pay some bills, too? Attention WATD listeners, don't leave any money on the table. Call Performance Appraisal LLC and appraiser Arthur Boyle and Associates. Arthur may be reached at 781-293-6900 or Boyle6900 at AOL.com. Since 1994, Performance has developed many niche services ranging from appraising single-family homes to providing expert witness testimony. Again, call our own Arthur Boyle at 781-293-6900. South Street Diner, located at 178 Nealon Street, Boston, is Boston's only all-night dining destination, open 7 nights a week for late-night eats. Yep, that's 24/7 in my book. Owner Saul Seidel has grown this former iconic Blue Diner to be the place to go for keeping the party going or filling your stomachs before you head home to the South Shore or the Cape and the Islands and listen to WATD along the way home. Ask Saul about his grandmother's banana bread recipe, the Boston cream pancakes, umpteen eggs Benny offerings, and tell him that Paul Ponders sent you.
Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakisset Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you. Have you tried Bryantville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Bryantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. The call-in number is 781-837-4900, or you could also find us on the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. And I want to give a shout-out to my daughter, Ann, who's listening in California on the Odyssey app.
What time is it in California now? Is she getting up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to listen to us, or is...
No, she's usually up early. You know, Annie just makes things happen with her mortgage business, her landscaping business.
It's about 9:30 out there right now.
Yeah, 3 hours time difference. Exactly.
Well, that's not too bad.
No.
Not bad at all.
Very doable.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And also, I want the nonprofits out there, especially in the North Shore, the South Shore, and the Cape and the Islands, to in fact, just email me at paul@paulponders.com and just let me know what you're up to, what events you have coming up. I'm happy to, in fact, give you some time on the air. So, again, just reach out to me at paul@paulponders.com. And while we're on the subject of nonprofits, Gotham Whale had a great time over at the Beneath the Sea Expo in the Meadowlands last week, and they made some wonderful contacts. I'm on the board of Gotham Whale, and they made some really great contacts, so we look forward to hearing from Bob Hildberg in the future on that. And also a shout out to Matt from Pembroke. Matt, if you're listening, I hope to have you on maybe next week on a call-in, and we'll talk about the April 24th event that you have going on, but also, the recognition that you got from the governor and the state legislature a few years ago with Massachusetts Right Whale Day on April 24th. So, Matt from Pembroke, if you're listening, feel free to call in at 781-837-4900, but we'll have you on next week. Arthur?
That sounds like fun.
We'll have a whale of a time, indeed.
Actually, Matt has done some amazing things, getting recognition of the problem and then having some action taken to try to resolve the problem. And, a lot of people say, I don't know why they don't do such and such. And you're saying, well, you're part of they. You can get your act together and go take up a cause. Everybody should have a cause.
Absolutely, without a doubt. And there are doers, there are takers, there are givers. But, that Nike logo, just do it. Are we human beings or are we human doings? And, if you want to check out Paul Ponders episode, paulponders.com, I'm actually dropping, I believe, episode number 59 on Sunday night at midnight. And I'll give a shout out on that one. We have Deb Barrett Catulli, and she's a sand sculpture artist and an illustrator, and she's done a lot of work with a lot of the beach festivals in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, even in Florida, and she does an incredible job in sand art in creating all sorts of logos and all sorts of wonderful structures. And if you've ever been to, say, like the Revere Beach Sand Festival, where millions of people have attended.
My mother said I can go to Revere Beach when I'm old enough. And I'm 67 now, and I think eventually she's going to let me go to Revere Beach.
And go to Kelly's on the beach afterwards, without a doubt, right? But Deb has done a wonderful job with a lot of wonderful themes throughout the years. And if you want to tune into paulponders.com, and you could find subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding past Paul Ponders on WATD shows. And we sometimes have the financial wing of Olympic Proportion with Olympian and former Boston Bruins winger Dave Jensen, Senior Loan Officer for Riverworks Credit Union, on each week. But Dave was preoccupied last week, and I'll give a report on his pup, Bruin, his son's puppy, 4-month-old puppy. And Dave was taking care of pup Bruin in the dog park and got attacked by this, the pup got attacked by this brutal dog, this really big dog who really did a number, if you will, on Pup Bruin, but the pup is doing well and is on the disabled list with an upper extremity issue. And I don't know if that brutal dog got a 10-minute misconduct, but it was really something. But doing well, healing.
Well, on a brighter note relating to hockey, Alex Ovechkin is one goal away from setting the all-time NHL record. He tied Wayne Gretzky last night, I think it was.
I believe so. Yeah. I never thought that record would actually be broken.
Well, I always say the records are made to be broken. But there are very few records that stand, the test of time. You go to Joe DiMaggio's 56 consecutive games. That's going to be one stuff to beat. Pete Rose almost did it years ago.
Yep.
At 44.
Right.
But the records are made to be broken, as I say. And the thing that gets me is with the Celtics in particular is that. Are we going to retire, Derek White's number, or, are we going to retire, Pritchard's jersey when he retires? I mean, you're going to end up wearing leathers eventually. I mean, it's
right, exactly. Well, if you look at, we'll say Jim Loskatoff. Okay, I know he wore number 18, but in the banner, on the banner, you have Losky. Right,
because you had Dave Cowens.
Right, wearing that. So are they going to have to reach the point as an organization and say, okay, we're just going to put the names up or a nickname up?
Yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, who I can't stand personally, but that's just me. But they have the right idea, I think. They have the Ring of Honor. And they have the names of the players, but not the numbers. They don't retire numbers, apparently. And that's probably a fairer way to do it, and it makes more sense to do it, because you look at the Patriots, they're retiring Brady's jersey, and maybe that's one of the few exceptions when you have the greatest of all time in a position, but it doesn't make sense to me that they will just spring a retirement on Bill Walton was great for 2 years or so for the Celtics, and they won a championship. But did he deserve to have his jersey retired? Not in the context of Boston, certainly, but maybe he could have been at Portland.
True. That's true. Well, this is going to be a Paul Ponders moment that we're going to have to talk about during our commercial break. So let's hear from our sponsors. Attention WATD listeners, don't leave any money on the table. Call Performance Appraisal LLC and appraiser Arthur Boyle and Associates. Arthur may be reached at 781-293-6900 or Boyle6900 at AOL.com. Since 1994, Performance has developed many niche services ranging from appraising single-family homes to providing expert witness testimony. Again, call our own Arthur Boyle at 781-293-6900.
Have you tried Brianville Pizza Kitchen? From antipasto to baked ziti, specialty gourmet burgers, over 30 different kinds of pizza, and that's steak and cheese. Come on in and they'll show you why they made a reputation as being the best steak and cheese sub in the area. There's nobody that puts it together like your friends at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Chicken wings and fingers and the famous flavors complement their stir-fry dinners. If subs and wraps aren't enough for your table tonight, expand into Greek and Caesar salads, maybe even a calzone. Anyway, it's all good at the Briantville Pizza Kitchen. And don't forget, invite them to your next catered event. They'll bring the food. Briantville Pizza Kitchen. Call them at 781-293-9857. Have you heard about Pembroke Collision? Price and quality don't often collide under the same roof. Not so at Pembroke Collision at 192 Manakisset Street in Pembroke. Pembroke Collision will work with you and your insurance company to get you back on the road in a safe and satisfactory vehicle. Put your trust in Ben Bastianelli and his crew at Pembroke Collision. Just call 781-293-4040 or find them on Facebook. Pembroke Collision, happy to work for you.
Paul Ponders continues on 95.9 WATD. Once again, Paul Solano.
We are back, and thanks for listening to Paul Ponders on WATD. The call-in number is 781-837-4900. And again, you could find us on paulponders.com, and you can get some subscription links to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, as well as finding us on Paul Ponders on WATD shows. So, Arthur, let's just close that subject on retiring numbers. There's a lot of thought that goes into that, and we just have to.
It's how much money can you make on the sale of the jerseys?
Right, the merch. Right, exactly.
I mean, that's the reason that they have traveling jerseys, home jerseys, Boston specific Red Sox jerseys. It's to sell jerseys. It's to sell merchandise, and you can't blame them for that. I mean, if you're crazy enough to spend $90 or $100 on a T-shirt, then good luck.
Right, exactly. So what else do you have for us this week?
Well, we're on the subject of basketball. I don't know how we get that far away from everything else, but you saw last night the UConn girls set up a meeting in the next few days with South Carolina.
Yes.
And South Carolina's coach, Dawn Stanley, something like that.
I believe so.
She's a coach I'd want to play for.
Mm-hmm.
She's right in the middle of everything.
Right.
And I wouldn't have given you $10 for a ticket 20 years ago to go see a women's basketball game. Well, I'd pay to watch them practice today. You've got, the Caitlin Clarks of the world and the Juju, what's her name, from
USC.
From USC, yeah. I mean, these kids get talented. They're great players.
Right. Without a doubt. And I coach my daughter's sports, and I love coaching the basketball because I played a little basketball, but it's one of those things that it was just great interacting with these young ladies, with my daughter's friends for about 7-8 years, and just watch them progress and go on to college and play some D1 ball. And really, just so impressive. And then taking a field trip over to BC to watch the girls over there. I had the pleasure of working with Breanne Stefferson. She was a standout at Boston College and originally from Malden Middleton. She went to Masco, and I worked with her at Hoop Specialist when I was doing some work with them up in Middleton. This was years ago, and I'll tell you, just incredible. And it's so nice to see, and we have a lot of women's basketball watch parties in at Pearl Street Station in the Sports Bar area.
That's
really
going to be a great place to watch.
Oh, it's awesome! With the 18 TVs, we have different games on, and it's
and
just
chicken
incredible.
Fingers with honey mustard.
Can't go wrong in life, and the sweet and spicy wings.
Yeah, I'm not a sweet and spicy guy, but I've had some incidences in the last month or so that have changed my diet tremendously.
Right, exactly. All right, we'll stick with the chicken fingers, right?
Yeah, that'll do it.
All righty, awesome. And of course, on the men's side, I can't remember when the last time we had the 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. I don't recall when that happened. Before.
It happened 15 years ago.
Did it?
Yeah, and I would be hard-pressed to tell you the 4 teams. Duke was probably one of them, however, they seemed to be a regular stand-in at the Final Four.
Coach K.
Yeah, he's been replaced, and, the fellow that took his job didn't skip a beat. He's right back in it again.
Right, exactly. Who do you like in the Final Four?
I got to go with Duke, I think. Houston is a good team, and I don't know what the odds are, and I don't understand the idiosyncrasies of having 3 versus 2 money and all this kind of thing.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm better off not knowing, because that way I don't lose any money. I just get to sit and watch my television, have a cocktail or two, and enjoy the game for the sake of the game, and not for the sake of I need you to win, but don't win by more than 3 points.
Take a 2-pointer, don't take a 3. Yeah, you're going to put me whatever that is. That really is changing the perception of how you're rooting for the game. It really is.
Yeah, you used to just be rooting for laundry.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. You're right.
And now with this portal business, you can almost make a phone call and say, "Hey, coach, I'm available. Can I be there in September?" That's
really changing the whole complexion and the perspective of what college sports is all about, isn't it?
Yeah. John Creed, who does commentary for WATD and was a longtime employee of the Boston Celtics, had the right idea, about pro sports and, having limits to everything, just about, the money you can make and the number of exceptions to the rules there can be for, to accommodate somebody's, their, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, anyway, John was right. He was on this years ago and said, eventually they're going to price themselves out. And, now they're starting to do it with expansion. They've got another expansion team coming into the NBA next year. And it's crazy. The money is crazy. You can't, try to take a child, a 12 or 15-year-old to the Celtics and get out for under $400.
You're right. Absolutely. Starts with parking.
Yeah, while you're parking.
Yep.
You've got to eat something on the way in usually.
Right.
And then you've got, the $8 bottles of water or $7 bottles of water. Mm-hmm. And you can't bring anything in with you. Mm-hmm. So you're going to buy, Celtics products or whatever pro teams, it's taken the fun out of it quite a bit. When I was a high school kid, Jim Rice was just coming in, and he was a hero. He came in and he was going to build the Red Sox back up again. He did a pretty good job.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And it was so nice to see that 75 team on the field yesterday being honored, and 50 years, for that 75 World Series team.
Yeah, and as the Jim Rice saga continues, he's a part owner now in the Brockton Rocks, the newly reassembled Brockton Rocks, and I haven't been over there yet to see it, but they were pretty much shovel ready to be going out and having the field touched up a little bit and the stands touched up a little bit. But I think the city of Brockton gets a bum steer from people. That it's dangerous. Every place is dangerous. And not that you should go looking for it downtown or something, but there are certain areas that if you're there, a lot of times you're there because you've got business that you don't want somebody else to know about. So, I just think Brockton, it's a good place to go. You can go on a Saturday afternoon if you're, put out by the, the stories and things, but...
Right, exactly, and Brockton is the city of champions, and it's something that the Brockton Rocks had a nice run.
Yeah,
and I think you used to maybe
we should do some play-by-play and broadcast in color.
If I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, with Bill Wilhelm, the legendary Bill Wilhelm.
Absolutely, and a shout out to Coach Bill if you're listening. Hope you and Marsha are doing well. But the season for this new baseball team in Brockton, when is that?
They're going to be called the Rocks. They're starting right around now, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was...
I'm going to go over. I'm going to make it a point to go over.
Sure.
Because it was...
We'll have to go over.
It was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was inexpensive.
Yep.
And, you know, when you take a 4-year-old in, he doesn't know whether he's watching the Red Sox or the high school baseball team. So. Absolutely.
And I forgot to do a shout-out for when I was on the subject of Dave Jensen, former Olympian and former Boston Bruin, but we'll be coordinating a Bruins alumni game against the Boston Strong All-Stars on April 19th at 2 o'clock at the Larson Rink at the Eruzione Center in Winthrop, and tickets are $10 for adults, and kids 12 and under are free, and it's a great opportunity to raise some money for, I believe, Children's Hospital, the Boston Bruins Foundation, and Children's Hospital, and dear friend Kevin Childs does a great job putting together a great team of some really, really great hockey players from the Revere, East Boston, Winthrop area, and we face off against the likes of Bruins legends Bob Sweeney, Kenny Hodge Jr., Andrew Alberts, Ken Linsman, Al Peterson, Dave Jensen, if he's skating that day or not coaching, Rick Middleton, Terry O'Reilly, and we have a surprise guest coming, and we have a great 50-50 raffle, and it's all for a great cause. So if you have a chance, I know Arthur is going to be in studio hosting the whole show on April 19th. But Arthur, have you ever been to one of the Bruins alumni games?
I have been. I've been to 2 of them, in fact. One played at the Habermock Arena in Pembroke about 15 years ago, and one in, I believe it was in Saugus.
Sure.
And
probably Hockey
that
Town.
That will tax my memory quite a bit to go back to that, but they're fun, and you get to see John Busick. I mean, he doesn't look like the John Busick of old, but I mean, he's got to be 80. And the fact that he's out there is a tribute to his conditioning and the way he took care of himself, throughout his career. And you just, the guys are, they're very nice to the people that want autographs. And I said this years ago when we first started doing, talk radio on WATD. I said, Doug Flutie was at an event that I had attended. And I said, he was as nice to the 200th kid as he was to the first one. I can see people with their elbows in the spaghetti, and you can be only so annoying, I think, and somebody's got to tell you then it's time to quit, but it's not. It's you're in it to make people happy, and if you're doing it, you're successful.
They're real. And just a shout out to Boston Bruins Alumni Association President Frank Simonetti from Stoneham for doing a great job in leading the troops, and Karen Winoski, who does a great job coordinating everything. So at this point, I want you to stay tuned to WATD for the Memories with Ron Dwyer, the grand poobah of oldies rock and roll.
He is the best.
He certainly is. Ron, you are a true leader of the pack. And listeners can go to paulponders.com to find subscription links. And thanks again to Tim. Arthur, thanks for being in studio. And thanks to our advertisers.
It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. But really, thank you, our advertisers and listeners in WATD world and beyond. Keep Paul pondering. #Indeed.